Handful of Daisies DIY. My name's Elaine, and today we're in my workshop. We're going to be giving new life to an old antique dresser and mirror, and also a wooden trash can that I picked up at the thrift store yesterday. So if you're interested in these types of DIYs, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. If you're already subscribed, I hope you're finding inspiration in the projects that we've done so far. So if you're ready, let's get started. Here's a look at the dresser before we get started and all the things we're going to be using on this project. It was really dirty, so we're going to clean it up. Here's a look at the mirror. And then also the wooden trash can I picked up as well. So to get started, I'm going to give it a really good cleaning. I'm just using an orange cleaner that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. It works really well. You can see it was really dirty. Now I'm just going to take all the hardware off. I'm going to spray paint those separately. Here's a close-up look at what the hardware looks like. They were gold, so I wanted to change them. Didn't get a video of spray painting them, but I did spray paint them silver, and then I changed my mind and went back and spray painted them white. Now I'm just going to put some scrap wood underneath just to get it off the floor. And the bottom leg was coming out a little bit. There was a nail sticking out, so I did fix that. The rest of the dresser was really nice. It was old and worn, but it was put together pretty well. So I'm using the Krylon white chalk paint. I picked this up at Lowe's. And I'm just doing a light coat, because this is just going to be my base coat. Now I picked up this brush at Lowe's as well, and it's a really nice brush. This is the first time I've used it. But it puts the paint on really well. This is the first furniture piece I've done in a while. I don't do them as much as I used to. Now we're going to move to the drawers, and I'm just going to put a light coat of the white chalk paint on that as well. Again, this is just a base coat. I'm going to put another color on top. I did start out wanting to paint the whole thing white. I typically paint everything white, but I decided to give it a little color just because once I got done and the first coat was dry, it was bleeding through a little bit, so I decided to put a darker color on it. And I am only painting the facing
on the drawer. I'm not painting the sides or the inside. I was able to clean the drawers out pretty well. Here's a look at the mirror, or the top. I did take the mirror out so I could paint it without having to paint around the mirror. But it did have some little mirrors down at the bottom, so I'm going to tape those up and make sure I don't get any paint on those. They did have a really nice patina on them. Once I get that all taped up, I'm going to use the same white chalk paint and give it a light coat. I do DIY for resale, so once I finish this piece, it will be in my booth at By the Season in Salem, Virginia. And the mirror covers almost the whole top part, but I'm going to paint the whole thing anyway, just to give it a clean coat on the top. And the mirror does have a lot of age to it, so you can see through it and around the edges. And then I decided to use this Dixie Belle paint in Gravel Road as the top coat. It's like a charcoal gray. And this is the first time I've used the Dixie Belle paint, but it covers really well. It's very thick. And you can see my dogs coming in for a visit. They're getting out of the sun, getting a little shade. And we're just going to move on to the drawers. Again, just painting the facings and the edges. And Hank had to come in and take a look at what we're doing. Again, this paint covers really well, so it only took one coat. And once I finish those up, I'll let them dry for several hours. We left and went to my grandson's t-ball game, So by the time we got back, they were good and dry. So I decided I was going to wet distress them, and I figured out pretty quickly that wasn't going to work out very well since I didn't seal in the base coat first. So I thought I'd use a little sandpaper. That didn't work either. So then I decided just to use the white chalk paint and distress it a little bit that way. It was pretty dull with just the charcoal gray paint, so I wanted to do a little something to add some texture to it. So you can see here where I did add the white chalk paint on top just to give it some texture. Then I'm using some polyacrylic to seal it in. I did put 3 coats of polyacrylic on it just to make sure it was sealed really well. And I'm putting it on with a sponge. I did see someone else in another video using a sponge to put it on, and it actually worked out really well. I think next time I will get a little bit better sponge. This sponge came from the Dollar Tree. However, it did work out. So I put a thin coat on as the first coat and then let that dry, and then I added 2 more coats. Here's a look at it after all the polyurethane was dry. I picked up these transfers and I wanted to use them on something. I've never used them before, but I didn't want to put a whole lot on it since I had added texture. So I just picked this one simple flower and I decided just to put it on the top. And it comes with this little tool to rub it in. Now it does take a lot to get it rubbed on there really well. And you do have to use a lot of pressure, but you can see as you're going over it when it starts to release from the paper. And it does look pretty small on this dresser in the video, but it actually looks pretty well just as a simple added design on the top. Once I got it all down, I took the back of that paper and just went over it really well to make sure it was on good. And then I decided to take a piece of sandpaper, and it's a really light sandpaper, like a 120 grit sandpaper, just to distress it a little bit and take the edges off. And that did make it look more like a piece of the furniture, more like it was painted on. So then I decided I was going to add something to the mirror as well. So I decided on one of the stems, and then a petal of the flower, and then a butterfly. So I kept moving it around trying to figure out where I wanted to put it. And those pieces seem to go down a little bit easier. So I went over that with the sandpaper as well. And then here's a look at how that turned out. So here's a before picture. And then here's how it turned out after. I did cover up the mirror just so there wouldn't be any glare as I'm trying to film what it looks like. You can see I did go back and spray paint the knobs in white. So here's that wooden trash can that I picked up at the Goodwill. It was $5. So I'm just going to give it a good coat of white, starting on the inside. I did lay it out on my work table with an old sheet underneath, and then a scrap piece of wood underneath that so I would be able to turn it. You'll see in a minute how I was able just to turn it around pretty easy to get to all the sides. Now, I haven't seen a lot of people use Lazy Susans for this, but I haven't been able to find one at the thrift store. But I'll keep looking. Now, if you have any thrift store projects that you've done, I would love to see those as well and feature them on our next video. So send me a picture. You can send it through email or go to my Facebook page, Handful of Daisies Home Decor, and attach it there. And let me know in the comments below what you think about these projects today. I did put several coats on the trash can. And here's a look at the before and how it turned out after. Now, I did put a stencil on it as well, and I didn't get that on video. But if you'd like to see a video of how I make stencils and put them on, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to do a video for you on that as well. So thanks so much for joining me today. I'd love for you to also join me on my Facebook page at A Handful of Daisies Home Decor. I do have a VIP group that I would love for you to come over and tell me about your projects.